It's not so much the maintenance method as it is how the maintenance method is done, and if it's done properly and with care. What is up, Flockers? That is my fellow Lockers and aspiring Lockers. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the fears that you may have going on in the first several months of your lock journey, or maybe even a year or two into your lock journey, that if they're not talked about, you just don't know any better. So if you want to hear about those, then stick around. Anytime somebody is embarking on a new journey, there are unknowns that are associated with it, and until you learn about those unknowns and until you experience them yourself, there's going to be some trepidation and some fear that's associated with those. There's no difference when it comes to hair and going on a new hair journey. So with Microlocs, Sisterlocks, Locs in general, there are going to be things that happen with your locked hair that didn't happen with your loose natural hair or with your processed hair. So there's a learning curve and things that you have to learn about your locks that you didn't need to know before that may freak you out if you're experiencing it for the first time and have no idea about it. So I'm hoping to be able to give a little bit of knowledge. Come on, speech. Give a little bit of knowledge today to be able to help some people that may be weirded out by some of the things that's going on with their locks. The first thing that I wanted to address are the little balls on the end of locks. Now this actually came from a flocker because they wrote in the comments on one of the previous videos that they were asking about these balls and they were afraid of length retention because they had these balls that were forming on the ends of their locks and breaking off. And I want you to know, you are not alone. You're not alone, okay? This is a normal process of the locking process, especially with Microlocs and Sisterlocks. Well, I'll say with Microlocs, I don't have Sisterlocks, so I won't speak specifically to Sisterlocks. But with Microlocs, it is very common and part of the journey for you to get these little, I don't know that I have any right now to show you because I think all of mine have fallen off at this point. But you will have little pieces on your locks that will turn into little balls and they'll hang on by one or two hairs, and eventually they either snap off, they break off, fall off, or sometimes if you're lucky, the lock decides to accept it and suck it back in and it ends up forming the bottom of your lock. But either way, I want you to know that this is not a continuous process that happens over and over. It's not like, you know, you get a ball on the end of this lock today and it falls off, and then in a month you're gonna have another ball on the end of this lock and it falls off. Unless you keep combing out the end of your locks, all this is the process of your locks closing on the bottom. So your hair is tangling and it's forming into a ball, and like I said, sometimes that ball will separate and fall off, and sometimes it becomes part of the bottom of your lock. And there's honestly no way to know which way it's gonna go, but know that you're not alone. This isn't your hair breaking off or falling off. You're not gonna have issues with length retention specifically because you have these little balls that are falling off. So I just wanted to comfort you and let you know that we're all in this together. We all get the little balls on the end of our locks that fall off, and it is totally normal, totally part of the process. Something else I wanted to talk about is the half and half, the misconception about reties thinning out your locks. And I say half and half simply because there is truth to it and there is not truth to it. Where there is not truth to it is the fact that if done properly and done with care, and you don't have any issues going on with your hair and stress and stuff like that in your life that's causing your hair to thin or to break off, then simply the act of retying your hair is not going to cause your hair to thin or to break or to become brittle or anything like that. Now, where I say on the yes side is that yes, if you are having a loctician or yourself doing your locks extremely tight to the scalp so that you can have that perfect grid and see your scalp and stuff to the point where it's pulling the follicles out of your scalp, then yes, reties could potentially lead to your hair thinning or to locks breaking off or snapping off. Or if you're putting holes in your locks because you're going through the same entry path multiple times in a row and you're creating holes in your locks, then yes, you could cause potential damage. You could cause weak points in those locks that later on end up breaking off or have further issues with them. So like I said, it's two-sided. Yes, there can be detrimental things that happen due to reties, but it's not specifically due to reties. It's due to negligence. It's due to not doing reties with care and with love, rushing through them, and just things of that nature. Like I said, if you've got a lot of stress going on in your life, and when you have stress, your hair thins, your hair falls out, that's something different. That has nothing to do with the retie itself. So we can't put that on the retie. We're not gonna put that on the retie. All right. You know, if you have genetic disposition to hair thinning and hair loss and things like that, again, can't put that on the retie, can't put that on locks, because you can just as easily see that people who retwist their hair too often when they have, whether it's traditional locks or micro locks, if you're retwisting your hair too tightly, if you're retwisting your hair too often and not giving that breathing time in between, you can also experience thinning and damage of your locks in the same way. So it's not so much the maintenance method as it is how the maintenance method is done, and if it's done properly and with care. So don't let anybody freak you out and make you think that your hair's gonna fall off and it's gonna be super thin due to reties, because there are plenty of people who have been doing reties with Microlocs and Sisterlocks for several years. We're talking 5, 10, 15 years, and whether their hair is super long because they've let it get super long, or they keep trimming it and cutting it as the years go by because they like their hair a certain length, there's plenty of them that don't have thinning, plenty of them that don't have bald spots, that don't have edges, you know, hitting back here where their hairline starts now because of that. So it's all about paying attention to your hair, paying attention to your scalp. If you're not doing your hair yourself and you have a loctician or someone else doing it, making sure that you're speaking up when something feels too tight, when something hurts, when something doesn't feel right, and having that open communication, so that way if something is wrong, even if it's not at the fault of your loctician or the person doing your locks, that they feel comfortable enough to tell you, like, hey, I'm noticing this area in your head has some thinning in the crown area or wherever. Because there are situations where maybe you and your loctician or the person doing your locks don't have that good of a rapport, and so they're like, well, I'm not going to be the person to tell them that, you know, they got 3 locks that are about to snap off in the middle of their head, because I don't want them to think it was me. You don't ever want to get to that place where then you wake up one day and you got locks laying on your pillow, because communication isn't there. So keep the communication open. All right, y'all, we are keeping it short today, but I really want you to drop in the comments and let me know, what are some other things that you've encountered in your lock journey, whether previous one that you're on now, the previous one that you're on now, the current one that you're on now, or previous ones that you've been on in the past, some things that maybe you were afraid of, some things that when you encountered, it scared the mess out of you and you're just like, what is wrong with my hair? Something's going wrong. Drop in the comments and let me know some things that have frightened you on your lock journeys in the past. I want to hear about it and to talk about it and discuss, because maybe there's something that you've experienced that others also have experienced or will experience, and it'll help them. Maybe I can make a video about it. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so that you can join the flock, and also hit the like button so that I know what type of content you all are enjoying. And before you go anywhere, make sure to check out some of the other videos that have popped up on the screen. I'll see you there.